All right, let's see if the audio is working. All right, let's see. Okay, we're in business. So today we're looking at 35212, and this is just an area. Here, let me get you the exact outline. 35212. This property is just south of the airport. 211, I'm sorry. Whoa. 35211. Sorry, sometimes these zip codes get a little bit mixed together. And then today I just filtered on properties up to 200 grand and looking for 4-bedroom properties only. And I'm doing this because I'm starting to see the prices of properties actually climbing a little bit, surprisingly. But there's still some properties that are sub 100, like sub 100, sub 150s. Just the quality of the homes vary significantly in this market. So today I found this property. Let's see, 1209 Princeton Ave Southwest, Birmingham, Alabama, 35211. And let's see. Property looks okay. I mean, the kitchen could use a little bit of love. It's got new flooring. There's some carpet in the rooms. I probably would want to replace all the carpet personally. That's just my personal preference. I hate it for it to get so gross after a while, but it's not something that you have to do right away. So let's go ahead and start writing down some of the details for this property. Okay. All right. Let's see. Asking price in B4 is going to be 165 grand. Minimize this. We'll need that. 165 grand. Per renovations. Let's go to the rehab calculator. Oh, let me turn on the chat. I always forget to turn that on. So something I have to add on. 165 grand. Okay. Okay, now that we got that piece in place, now we're going to go to my rehab calculator and just plug in some of these numbers right here. I always leave aside $1,500 in row 6 just for repairing some parts of the roof in case there's any issues. I just repaired my roof temporarily. It was $555 for a small leak in one area. It dried up after a while, but I know the roof needs to get replaced. So it was just a temporary replacement to make sure that the leak doesn't get worse. So that was helpful. Now, if I got landscaping, any grass, I set aside $500 usually to kind of clean up the home. For painting, this property looks okay, actually. I might just set aside maybe 20% of it. So 1538, so it equals 0.2 times 1538. That's 308 square feet at $3 a square foot for a paint job. For flooring, I'm going to assume roughly around a third of the flooring needs to get removed. I can't tell the condition of the carpet. If it's gross, I might replace more, but you know what? Let's use 1538 divided by 2 because I'm going to assume that half the flooring needs to get replaced. All right. So just cosmetic rehab. I'm assuming $8 a square foot. It could be a little bit more. It could be a little bit less. Completely up to you, but that's what I'm going to go with. I usually replace both toilets with high pressure flush toilets to reduce the chances of any clogged toilets. I don't think I need to do any other things in the kitchen. The bathroom. Let's see. How's the kitchen look again? The kitchen looks fine. I don't need to paint or anything. Where's the kitchen? That's the kitchen. Kitchen looks fine. Yeah, I'm okay with that being rent ready. All right, so I don't need to update a kitchen or anything like that. So that gives me a total of 12 grand in rehab, roughly. Okay, just to kind of get to super, super nice. Again, I could be overestimating it, right? So let's go through the scenario later when I assume that maybe I overestimated a renovation. Okay, now if I go out and I look at this property and I want to get my rents for this property, the first thing I need to do is get my county. So this property is in Jefferson County. So the next thing I want to do is get my rent ceiling in place. Now, if I Google HUD FMR, FMR stands for fair market rents. I'm going to click on the first link up top. And then I'm going to go and click on access to small area FMRs. Look up FY 2025 FMRs. And then I'm going to put in Alabama and then I have Jefferson County. Next screen. And in 35211, the rent ceiling for a 4-bed is going to be right here. 1580 is the rent ceiling. 1580 and 1420. 1420 and 1580, just a little bit less than the 35206 zip code I was looking at yesterday. So good to know. And this is why it's so good for you to get enough practice on all these zip codes, because eventually, after a while, you just start remembering where are your top performing zip codes. Now, that's my rent ceiling, right? 1580 and 1420. So now I need to get my market rents because I need to compare and get the lower amount of the two because that's a more reasonable rent. I go to affordablehousing.com, I go to the owner section, go to the market rent estimator, and then I'm going to plug in my address right here and select the bedroom count. Once I plug in a bedroom count, the most important number I'm going to care about here is this number here on the bottom right. It says that for 1.74 mile radius for 25 units, the average rent is $1,366. 1,366, 1,352, 1,558, and 1943 for the county. All right. So now that I got these rents in there, and that was a 1.75 mile radius, 1.8 mile radius, just kind of keep it simple. I put these numbers in here because my partners already know how I analyze deals. So this is my way of putting together numbers in a really quick fashion so that if I ever think that this is a deal, I can send it to my partners, my very close friends, and they already know where I got these numbers from my analysis, right? That's not to say that you have to do the same, but you should have your own system and your own process for determining how to come up with an analysis with a underwriting approach that makes sense to people that you talk to every day. Because I think for you to master something, you really have to learn how to teach it. And that's why I started doing this live, right? 338 days ago. Wow. It's been a long time. All right. So now that I got my rents here, I'm going to use the lower of the two, right? So lower of the two is 1366. And then my property taxes, I'm going to get it right from here on the Redfin page of 79. Obviously, you want to double check it with county assessor records. But for now, I'm just going to use what's here. And then my insurance, it says 128. So I'm going to equals 128 times 1.2. And the reason I'm multiplying by 1.2 versus the 120 that's on the Redfin website is because usually they assume that investment properties are more risky. So they're going to charge more premium for that property. Now, when they charge more premium for the property, obviously your insurance premium is going to cost a lot more, and they might go up even by more every single year, right? So just think about it, be aware of it, and just be conservative in your insurance estimates, especially in areas such as Texas or even Florida, because those insurance rates are going up significantly every single year. So just be aware about that. All right, so now I got 10% for my maintenance. That's money I'm setting aside every single month for repairs, maintenance, or just future replacements of big items such as your roof, your water heater, your air conditioning unit, your HVAC, all that stuff, right? Because all that stuff is going to get replaced at some point. And if you don't set aside money every single month, you're going to get a really, really big bill. Like right now, I just got a bill for $15,000 to replace a roof at our property in Scottsdale. If you didn't set aside money, let's say $150 for the past 100 months, for that roof replacement, then you are going to be thinking you made a lot more money than you truly did in reality. And then you would have overestimated your profitability and completely underestimated your expenses. So don't be that person. Don't be the silly person, right? That those things are going to get replaced. So don't be a fool. All right. 10% for property management, 5% for vacancy because someone always moves out. Could you get lower vacancy if you are in Section 8 and you do your job screening and you attract a grade 10? Absolutely. That's going to be up to you. But I just like to use 5%. And if the 10 stays a lot longer, then great. That's sort of the cherry on top here. So with those numbers all the way in, as a 4-bedroom property, if I am renting it out for $1,366, right? How much would I cash flow if I put 25% down? So in F19, I'm going to put in 25% right here. And then my down payment is going to equal to B4, my asking price, times my down payment percentage in F25. And that's going to give me 41.25K. Then in my financing amount in K6 is going to equals to my asking price minus my down payment, right? And this is the amount that I'm financing at, let's say, roughly 8% right now. That's what I'm going to use for my estimate. If I set this at 2.5% for my closing costs, and again, I had 12 grand estimated for my renovation reserve, at a 4-bedroom renting out for $1,366, I will be negative cash flow $116 a month. That's going to be a negative 2.4% return, assuming I bought this property at 165 grand with a $12,000 rehab roughly. Now, what if I have a contractor that walks the property and says, hey, you are way overestimated the expenses. We think it's super turnkey, so your rehab is going to be half of what you thought. So I'm going to go to B6 and we'll divide that by 2. And if my rehab is only 6 grand, well, what does that do to my cash and cash number? It's negative 2.7%. So now watch what happens as now my negative cash flow amounts are going to be the same, right? Because it's based off my rents and my expenses. But I'm not borrowing, I wasn't borrowing money for the rehab because I'm using cash out of pocket. But now that I have lowered my rehab in half, I can now trim my asking price to an even lower amount. And just for illustrative purposes, right? Let's go back to my renovations. Let's keep it at 12 grand. Let's start by lowering the purchase price to, let's say, 100 grand. And now all of a sudden at 95 grand or 90 grand, now it's a deal for me. Again, this is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. Super clear. I'm simply showing you all the work I do every single day just to build in the reps and get practice in. So at 90 grand, I'd be closer to 10%, right? Which is my personal target return at 9.7%. 9.7, and my gross rent is going to be $1,366, and my cash flow per month is $297. And my purchase price is based off of 90 grand with a $12,000 rehab. Now, what can you do if you just want to say, hey, my renovation is half of that? So divided by 2, did you see what happened? Right? It went from 9.7 to 11.6 simply because my rehab got half because I overestimated my expenses. Now, if that was the case, well, watch what happens to my asking price now as I increase it to 95 grand. So because my rehab got half to 6 grand, I am now willing to pay extra 5 grand in the property to still yield a similar target return of 10.1%. 10.1. But now I'm willing to pay 95 grand because my rehab got half to 6 grand, assuming everything else stayed constant, at 25% down with an 8% interest rate. Now, let's do one more scenario, right? I'm making $269 cash flow a month there. Now, watch what happens to my cash and cash number right here. Again, my rehab is still half, right? So everything else staying constant from the last scenario. But my interest rate dropped a whole point from 8% to 7%. Well, watch what happens to my insurance again. I mean, my cash and cash return. It jumped up to 11.8 from 10.1. So now I might be willing to go 100 grand or 105. That's too much. 102. All right, that's still 10% because 9.98. So when the interest rate went to 7%, even though I'm at 25% down and my rehab is still $6,000 because it was half from before, I'm now willing to pay 102 grand to yield a same return of 10% because I'm still cash flowing $283 a month, assuming I'm renting out as a 4-bedroom for $1,366 a month. And that is the process that I really want you all to think about, to go through, because this is how you adjust up and down the metrics to make something a deal that might not have been a deal. And you can always exclude these certain scenarios. You can always pull these levers one at a time so you can keep the situation controlled. But that is the whole point of it, right? Anybody can put something in a spreadsheet, but why are you doing it? And this is you understanding, hey, where am I going to anchor it? You might say, hey, I don't want to spend more than $50,000 down, or I don't want to make less than 10%, right? Some people might say, hey, I'm okay just breaking even on my cash flow, because if I'm making 5% on appreciation, right? That's very speculative, right? But let's say you're buying $1 million home, selling in California, and it's going up 5% every single year. That's never guaranteed, not even close to being guaranteed. In fact, that's really risky. That's speculative. That's literally gambling. But some people will say, well, I'd rather make no money every single month, but if I know I'm making 50 grand on appreciation in the property. That beats $100 of cash flow any day, right? $100 cash flow a month, that's only $1,200 a year. How many years you got to hold on to the property and make 50 grand, right? That is all dependent on your own circumstances. That's why you got to talk to your own investment professionals who understand exactly what your risk tolerance is and what your goal is, right? Because everybody has a different strategy. Everybody has a different goal. Everybody can be successful in their own ways. So don't think you have to listen to some guru out there that says, hey, this is it. This is the goal. This is the strategy. You might relate to them better that way, right? They might make their messaging more clear, but I would much rather share with you the process that you can follow to adjust the levers up and down, right? So today we looked at, okay, well, what happened when the asking price went down to my cash here? What happens if the renovations got half? You can do the opposite, right? You could do like, hey, what if the renovations like tripled and what would happen, right? Then what am I willing to pay for the property? What if the interest rates went down, right? What if I only had to pay 20% down? These are all the different levers that you can pull to figure out what set of terms would make this a deal, quote unquote, in your mind. And that's what we go through. All right. So if you guys want to copy the spreadsheet, just go to affordablehousing.io. You guys can go to the Get Deal Analysis tool, affordablehousing.io, not .com.io, and then you put your name, your email, your phone number, and that is probably the fastest way for you to get a copy of the spreadsheet. I didn't make the spreadsheet from scratch. I got it from a few other folks. I combined it, I tweaked it, and I modified it because this is the way that I thought would be best for us to analyze the deal together, and most importantly, avoid burnout, because this is a faster way to analyze a deal. And the whole point of this exercise is just for you to figure out, hey, is this property worth my time analyzing further? And if it's not, stop. Don't waste time, because how do you get burnt out? You get burnt out when you do a lot of work for no return on your time. So don't do that. If you can just outlast everybody else, the chances of you succeeding is probably going to be a lot higher. All right. So have an amazing day, everybody. I hope you guys all had a great Labor Day. I had an amazing day at Legoland. I hope you all got some quality time with your family and friends today. There's no excuses. We're going strong. We're at day 338. We're going to make it to day 365. And then I might just take a day break. But I don't know. Why would I? I'm already doing it every single day. So, all right. Have a great one. I'll talk to you all tomorrow for day 339.